Good. Then what we need to do is we need to verify. So if there is a user token, what we need to do, we need to save the user in the MongoDB. But the problem is, every time when the user clicks that login button, it will create a new user. So if the user is already in our MongoDB, we need to update that user, right? Only if the user is not in our MongoDB, we need to create a new user over there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete my user in my MongoDB collection because my email ID is already there. My user ID is already there. So in the users table, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this user. Just like you don't have a user table at all and you don't have anything here. So let me delete this user collections also. Drop it. Okay, so currently we don't have user collections, nothing. Okay, to do that, now what we need to do, let me go back here, and here I need the user schema, right? Because we need to create a schema, then only you can store the, you can create a collection in your MongoDB and you can store the information. So to do that, we need to create the user schema. So that's what we are going to do next. Okay, then, so now open your browser, go here, and let's create a new folder over there. What is the folder we need to create is right click, new folder, and name it as model. Okay, or models. Inside this models only, you are going to have that all the models like the users or anything if you are going to create. So in this case, we are going to create a new collection for user. So users.js. Okay. Inside this, I'm going to create const mongoose. Mongoose is equals require mongoose. Okay, then const user schema. We are going to create a schema. Schema is nothing but your database structure. So we are going to create by using mongoose schema. Okay, mongoose schema. Inside everything is an object. Okay, I can simply create the name on what we can create. Name is going to be string, something like that. I can simply create like this, but something is required, something might not be required, something we need to create by default value, like name is a required value for the user, email is a required, so I need to give the required. That means that's not supposed to be a null, not supposed to be an empty value. And the same way, when the user is created at, so that means that that created at should be by defaultly the time string needs to be inserted automatically without sending any value, right? So to do that, better way is to create every single column as an object. Name, the data type is going to be string, S capital, then it's required, it's going to be true. You might be wonder what are these informations. These are the informations you can check in the MongoDB documentation. Okay, just go through their documentation. Email is going to be, I'm just going to copy this email. I'm just going to say string only because I can validate the email and everything in the front end, so I don't need to worry about it. Okay, then I'm going to send image URL. That means user image URL. Okay, type, that's also going to be string and it should be important. And the most important, that's the user ID. That's the UID of the user ID. It's going to be type, that's also going to be string, and the status of the email verified or not. So email underscore verified colon, that's also going to be string, that's also required. And this email is verified is going not a string, it's going to be a boolean. So search for boolean. Okay, boolean. And then authentication. So we need the auth time because we need to, if the user is already there, we need to insert if the user is not there in our collection, we need to create the new user. If the user is already there, we just need to update the authentication time so the session can be managed and the user can be logged in our website. So to do that, what I'm going to say is, so auth time, I'm just going to say auth underscore time, the same name just like over here. Copy it, paste it, auth time, and that is also going to be string. Okay, so these are the important thing we needed. And then so I told you when the user created, when the user gets updated, so that's information you don't need to create it over here. All you have to just, you need to send the timestamp. So comma, another object called time, time stamps, timestamps, spelling mistake is over there, so timestamps colon true. So if you set this information, this will make sure that the created at, updated at, all the information that MongoDB will insert it by itself. So you don't need to do anything. So let's make sure. So we created an object, okay, two object. In first object structure is going to be for your table column, and the second one is going to be the timestamps. So all the timestamps will be automatically enabled, so that MongoDB will do it for us. Inside this column we have name, email, image URL, user ID, email verified, and the authentication time. Later, even if you want to add much more information, just add that schema information over here. Now I need to export the schema. So module.exports equals mongoose.model. This is the model. So what's the model name? It's going to be users. Okay, and it's going to use this users is not your file name. This is our collection name, which is going to be in your MongoDB. Okay, then I'm just going to send this user schema here. Using this schema, create a new schema. Cool. So now what we need to do is, you need to go back to your user.js right after here. So I need to check the user is already exist or not. So here we are just checking the user already exists or not. We are going to check that. So what I'm going to say, const user exists, user exists equals, I'm going to check await. I need to get the user information from the schema, right? From the schema which we created. So users, which is coming from models.users. So that will import it over here. Users equal request model.user, user. Okay, user dot. So it provides a bunch of method. In that method, we are going to use the find one. Okay, find one. This method will help us to find the user information. So how I'm going to find that information? Let's go back here and let me go to find one MongoDB. Let's go to the documentation, db.collection.findOne. So maximum use their documentation. It's having a nice documentation over here. Okay, find one. You just need to send your field. What is the field you're going to, how you're going to find it? Okay, so I'm going to verify the user by using the UID, because this is the unique ID. So using this, I'm going to validate the user information. From the token, we are having this UID, and I will save this user ID in our schema. So how we are saving the user ID in our schema? In the user schema, we have in the user ID, right? While creating a new user, we will use that user ID only. Okay. So I will copy this. If there is a user, in our database, he will definitely have this user ID. If that user ID, which is equals to this particular user ID, okay, where is the, here, the same UID or user ID, both are same only. Okay, I'll get this user ID. If that decode value dot user ID. So inside, so it will try to find out the information. It will get every single user information, and it will check this user ID. If that user ID is equals to this token user ID information, if both are same, get that user information. Then I will have that user information over here. So let me send the user information. What is that object it's showing? Response.send user exist. I'm sending that object. Now go here. If I'm sending it, it's returning nothing, right? Because there is no user exists so far. Okay, so what we need to do is, if I need to check if not user exists, if there is no user, we need to create a new user. Send response.send, let's say create new user. If there is a user, we're just going to say update that user. Let's see what we have got. Click it. So we need to create a new user because there is no user in our MongoDB, so it's working fine. So what I'm going to do is that is going to be a very big function, so I'm just going to create a two separate function to create a new user. So right above here, I'm going to say const new user data. New user data is equals, it's going to be an asynchronous method. And this method is going to take different parameters. The first one is going to be your decode value, okay, then the request and the response equals open an arrow 6 function. Okay, so I will call that function right over here, new user data. I will call that function over here, new user data, and while calling that function, I'm just going to say that decode value. I'll pass the decode value, I'll pass the request, and I'll pass the response exactly as it is how we are getting over here. Okay, save the changes, and inside here now we have a job to do. What I need to do is I need to create a new user first. Const new user is equals new that users model which we are already having in our hand, users, and we need to send all the objects one by one. What is the informations we need? We need their name, email, image, URL, everything. Okay, so let's get one by one information. So let me copy it completely from here, copy it, and then I'll paste it here, and then I will clean it, delete it, delete it, delete it, delete it, delete it, delete it. Okay, and then I will add comma at every single end, so it will throws here. I'm just going to say decode value, just a decode value, decode value. Then we will get one by one information from the decode value. That means coming from here, we need to have the token information, right? Where is that? We need to send the, so here I'll just send a response back, response.send that decode value, because we need to have that information now. So click the decode value. Okay, so here we are having all the informations. So let's go back here. So we need to get the name. So decode value dot name, and email. We need the email. Copy the email. Decode value dot email. We need the image URL. That is our picture. Copy this picture. Decode value dot picture, and we need the user ID. This is the user ID, and then paste it here. And we need the email verified status. So copy this email verified. Then authentication time, we having the auth time over here. Copy this dot auth time. So we have all the required informations in our file. Then we need to save this information. So I'm going to use the try and catch. Okay, and if there is any error, I'm just going to send that error message back. So response.status 400, send success as false, send this message with that error. Okay, then I'm going to try const save the user. Okay, so I'm going to say await new user dot save. What is that? New user dot save method. Okay, why I'm saying is because this will create this new user, and this will have that all the instance in that instance we're having the save method. Using that method, I'm going to save it, and that will returns a promise back, whether the user is saved or not, that promise. Okay, and then I'm going to return that information back. Okay, what I'm going to say is response, if the user is saved successfully, response.status as 200, then send that information user colon saved user, send the response as saved user, save it. And let's go back here. Instead of sending the response here, I don't need it. If the user is not exist, this will call this method. It will comes here, it will all decode all the information and keep it in their necessary values, and we are saving that value and we are returning that saved user. Let's go back to our Postman, click it, and we are getting an error. Okay, so it's throwing an error where, oops, I try to keep an authentication value as a boolean that is supposed to be a string. That's why it's showing an error. I thought the authentication token is failed. Here it's showing that clear mistake. Cast to boolean value failed because we are passing a string value and we are trying to set it as a boolean value because I object is as a string over here. Cool. Now send it again and look at that. It's returning the users, it saved that information: name, email, image, URL, user ID, email verified, authentication time in the user authentication, and the ID. And this ID is nothing but MongoDB will create a unique ID by itself. Okay, no problem. And created it and updated it. This is the timestamps I'm talking about. This is done by your MongoDB itself. Let's go back to the MongoDB and let's go back to your database collections. User collection is created and our user information is saved over there. Look at that. Cool, right? So now if there is a new user, now if I click again the Postman, the user trying to log in again, click it and see it's showing success false and it's showing message auth ID token expired, Firebase token has been expired. Why it's showing the token has been expired? Is it expired really? I don't know. So let's go back to our front end. Let's re-log in again. Yeah, it's already expired. It's giving a new token now. So copy this token now. Copy it. Go back here and then paste it here. Okay, now this is a new token. This will not give the token again, this issue again. If you send it now, it's showing update that user. Okay, because why? Because our logic is written in that way. If there is a user exists, now this time the user is already exists. That's why it's going to here. That is if that is not user, if there is no user only, it will create a new user. If the user is already exists there, it will return this message. That's why when I'm sending a request API end, it's showing update that user. So this time we need to create a one more method called update user. Let's go back here, and right after here I'm going to create a one more method called update user data is equals asynchronous method decode value comma request comma response. Okay, and then we need to call this method just like your new user data. I'll copy and paste it and then replace this as update user data. So we will send the decode value, request and response and everything. We will get that here. So first I need to find out whether that user information, okay, we need to get that user information, right? We need to update, we are going to update that information. So for that, what we are going to do is MongoDB provides a method called find and update. Find one and update method. Okay, what is showing? Find one update. It's showing. Oh, it's coming. Find one update. This is one. Okay, so where it is? Find one modify all. This is not that method. Okay, let me search it somewhere here. Find one and update MongoDB Node.js. This is that method, find one and update. Okay, so you need to supply the filter information and you need to supply the query what you're going to update. Okay, so that's the information. You can find the examples, some examples also over here. Where is that examples? Find one. No, they didn't give any examples. Actually, I seen an example. Oh god, where it is? Okay, I will help you with that. No issues. It's here it is, the example. See, here it is. Okay, I was searching for that. So this is the filter that they are applying, and this is the update they want to update in their data. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, so you can see here how they are sorting the information and how they are updating. You can find there are different examples over here. So just go through these examples. So let's create. So first I need to find out which user I'm going to update. So const filter equals, it's an object. Okay, so inside that we having the user ID. I'm going to fetch it by using the user ID only. Copy this user ID, fetch the user ID from by using our decode value dot user ID. Inside that we having this user ID information because that's what we are sending, user ID, same user ID. Okay, so this will filter it. Then options, you need to send the options also. So I'm going to set upsert as true, upsert true, and new is equal to true. So what is this actually doing is, if that ID is not there, this will create the new information with that decode information. So that's what it's basically doing. If that is there, update it. If that is not, then create it. Basically we know that it's already there, so no, anyway, it's just a double verification, that's it. So try and catch. If while doing this, if there is any error, just send it back the message with that error. What kind of error it is, send that error message. Otherwise just start doing it. Result, we will get the result back. So await users is the model, users model dot find one, and you can see here find one and find one delete, find one remove, find one replace, find one update. There are different options, so I'm just going to use find one and update. Okay, find one and update. So it's asking filters first, update query second, and then callback function. Okay, so we are going to supply the filter which we are already having in our hand. That's the filter object. Okay, filter, and what is the information you need to update? I need to update the authentication time when the user authenticated. Okay, if the user is already there, just change their authentication time again, because user logged in first and come back after 30 minutes. So we need to just update the authentication time. So get that decode value. In that decode value, we have this auth time. Update that auth time. Okay, and then I'm just sending the options. Okay, so as it is, this will returns a promise only, so we are getting that promise over here. If you want to use a callback function, you can write after here itself, but I'm getting that promise and I'm going to return that promise to our response. Okay, so I'm just sending that reference. I'm going to return that response. Okay, cool. Now let's click send and look at that. It's just updated the user authentication time string and it's returned back. So it's showing here 546, right? If I'm sending it back, still it's showing 546. Okay, instead of here decode, where it is, instead of this auth timing, okay, I'll change this to, let's do make sure whether it's updating or not. So click it, and you can see that the auth time is updated as high there. Apart from every information, auth timing is alone, it's getting updated, right? So it's working fine. Cool. Let's change it back because that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so now our authentication information is updated. So this will make sure that every single time, if the user is already there, it will not create the new user. If that user is not there only, it will create the new user. If the user is already there, it's simply update the authentication time. Cool. So we are done successfully.